You cannot beat the river into submission. You have to surrender to its current and use its power as your own. Your intellect will take you far in life, but it will take you no further. Surrender yourself. Silence your ego. Your power will rise. But here's what nobody tells you about surrender. Most people think it means giving up. Therefore, they never discover its true nature. Just like Pablo Escobar, who learned this the hard way. Escobar built an empire worth $40 billion. He controlled 80% of the world's cocaine trade. Therefore, he thought he controlled everything. But the river doesn't care about your net worth. He believed money meant power. Power meant control. But control through force creates enemies faster than friends. Pablo fought everyone. The government, rival cartels, the DEA, and his own paranoia. His world became a battlefield where trust died first. He did what most of us do when life starts throwing haymakers. He fought back, harder, longer, with everything he had, but the harder he fought, the deeper he sank. He thought he could bend Colombia to his will. The more Pablo fought, the stronger the resistance became. Therefore, he escalated the violence. Judges murdered, politicians assassinated, innocent civilians caught in crossfire. But here's what nobody tells you about fighting rivers with dynamite. Eventually, you're standing in the flood. Pablo's own violence turned Colombia against him. The very people who once feared him began hunting him. But Pablo kept fighting because admitting the river was stronger meant admitting he wasn't God. Here's what he didn't know about control. It's mostly an illusion, and the tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers like water. By 1993, he was trapped on a rooftop in Medellin. $40 billion couldn't buy him peace. All that power, all that control, all that fighting led him to a tin roof with nowhere left to run. The river had been patient, but rivers always collect their debt. Your ego, that voice in your head that insists you're the director of this movie called your life, has convinced you that strength means resistance, that power means forcing outcomes. Your ego is lying to you. The river doesn't ask the rocks for permission to flow around them. It doesn't negotiate with the banks that try to contain it. It uses them. The universe has a way of teaching stubborn students, and Escobar was one of them. We live in a culture that worships force. Hustle harder, push through, crush your goals. These aren't inherently wrong, but they're incomplete. They're half the equation. The missing half, knowing when to surrender. Let me be crystal clear about what surrender is not. It's not becoming passive. It's not accepting mediocrity or letting life happen to you. Surrender is the highest form of intelligence. Why do you think Bruce Lee said,
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
He was trying to teach the art of surrender. Think about a master martial artist. When someone throws a punch, they don't meet force with force. They redirect. They use their opponent's energy against them. They turn aggression into advantage. That's surrender in action. Or consider water, the most gentle element, yet it carved the Grand Canyon. It doesn't fight the mountain. It finds the path of least resistance and, over time, moves mountains. That's what you need to learn. There's a difference between giving up on something and giving up to something. Giving up to the flow of life, to the wisdom of timing, to forces greater than your limited perspective. That's mastery. When you meet a dead end, stop and ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? What door is trying to open while I'm banging on one that's permanently closed? Your business didn't fail. It completed its purpose. It taught you what you needed to learn to build something better. That relationship didn't end in tragedy. It ended in clarity. It showed you what you actually needed in a partner versus what you thought you wanted. Here's the paradox that will bake your mind. The moment you stop trying to control everything, you gain access to a power you never knew existed. It's not your power. It's the power of life itself, flowing through you instead of against you. So how do you actually do this? How do you surrender without becoming a doormat? Let me break down the anatomy of flow into 3 components. This doesn't mean you like what's happening. It means you stop wasting energy resisting what's what's already here. Reality is not asking for your approval. It's not negotiating with your preferences. It simply is. When you accept this truth, you free up all the energy you are using to fight reality and redirect it toward what you can actually influence. Surrender doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become responsive instead of reactive. A reactive person fights every wave. A responsive person reads the ocean. When something bad happens to you, instead of immediately asking, "Why me?" or "How do I fix this?" ask different questions. What is this situation trying to teach me? What opportunity is hidden in this obstacle? What would my highest self do right now? These questions shift you from victim consciousness to creator consciousness. This is where most people fail. They think surrender means immediate results. They try to force the flow. True surrender requires what I call strategic patience, the ability to act decisively while detaching from timelines. You plant the seed, water it consistently, and trust the process. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You do your part. You show up. You take aligned action, but you release your grip on how and when the results show up. This is perhaps the hardest part for high achievers. Your ego wants to control not just the outcome, but the timeline. It wants guarantees. It wants to know exactly how things will unfold. The river knows where it's going, but it doesn't travel in straight lines. It curves. It bends. It sometimes seems to go backward before it moves forward. Okay, I hear you saying, this sounds beautiful in theory, but how do I actually apply this when my startup is hemorrhaging money, when my relationship is falling apart, when my career feels stuck? Here's your practical playbook. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you dive into problem-solving mode, ask yourself, what am I trying to control that I need to release today? Write it down. Actually write it down. Then ask, what is trying to emerge through this situation? This shifts your energy from resistance to curiosity, from force to flow. When you hit a roadblock, and you will, don't immediately try to bulldoze through it. Pause. Step 1. Accept that this obstacle is here for a reason. Step 2. Ask what skill this obstacle is trying to develop in you. Step 3. Look for the path around, not through. The obstacle is not the enemy. The obstacle is the teacher. Throughout your day, notice where you're leaking energy through resistance. Are you arguing with traffic? Fighting with your inbox? Wrestling with someone else's decisions? Every time you catch yourself pushing against something you can't control, take a breath and redirect that energy towards something you can influence. Here's how you know if you're truly surrendering or just giving up. Giving up feels heavy, defeated, resigned. Surrendering feels light, spacious, aligned. Giving up closes possibilities. Surrendering opens them. Giving up is reactive. Surrendering is responsive. If you feel heavy after letting go, you're probably avoiding responsibility. If you feel lighter, you're probably releasing control. The moment you truly grasp this, not just intellectually, but experientially, your entire relationship with challenge transforms. Setbacks become setups. Obstacles become opportunities. Resistance becomes redirection. This doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. You cannot beat the river into submission, but you can learn to dance with it. And in that dance, you don't just find power, you become it.